Huzur, this is a question from a lady from Damascus regarding euthanasia. You've spoken a lot about this subject, but her question is from the point of view that the process of keeping somebody alive when they are ill is very expensive and maybe only the rich can afford it. So is mercy killing allowed in these circumstances?
Life support system. I personally don't like it, because whatever they are supporting, they are doing it artificially. And this is called a vegetative growth. This is a term used for this. Like vegetation does not seem to possess a soul, but it grows. Similarly, these people are practically dead, and their suffering should not be prolonged by keeping them on a life-supporting system. Now, the deeper question is, does their soul live with them, or has it already departed? So this question can be only settled by taking the life support away, by putting it off. If they die instantaneously, that means they were just vegetatively living and there was no soul with them. If they live without life support, that means the soul is still in them. So this is the way how this can be checked. I know some cases where at my instruction the life support system was taken off and the person still lived. And some lived but never gained full consciousness. Some gained some consciousness, and they responded to questions about food, about feeling hungry. So although they could not move their limbs, but they could move their lips, and sometimes by the lips sound, which was very small sound, a very feeble sound, the relatives could put their ears to their lips and find out. So the life support system can be checked easily, whether the soul has left or not. So the moment you take off the life support system when somebody dies, that shows that there was no soul in it. Did you also mention some poor people or what?
Yes, she mentions that putting somebody on a life support machine could be expensive for the family. So
poor people are better off. They are better than the rich people, because there the normal system of life and death takes over, and the poor definitely are at better advantage than the rich people. Well, I tell you something else as well. Instead of life supporting machine, there is another system of sudden deep freeze. People who are still alive, I know some people have done it, who are very rich. So they have paid millions for the sake of keeping them in a deep freeze state until until the year 3000, for instance. And they say when the year 3000 dawns, then wake us up. So there will be people of the past living in the future age. So it's just a luxury or stupidity, I should say. It's not a luxury, but it's an extremely stupid thing for the rich to do, to waste their money. It would have been much better if they had spent it in the cause of Allah and to spend for the raising the poor. Thousands or millions of poor are dying out of hunger. So instead of one person being kept alive for 1 century, these people could be given life here on earth.
Does that work? When somebody gets freeze so sudden, can they really survive?
she asked if does this really happen if somebody is suddenly frozen and can be.
It has happened already. In 2 or 3 cases, I know definitely they have willed and this has happened. So they'll open their eyes. Allah knows better. Maybe before that they're destroyed by atomic bomb or something. But if God so wills, they will open their eyes after 100 years. And how misfit they find themselves in that. Traveling in age. And this is absolutely fiction or superstition. No soul who has passed on to the next world will ever return. And this concept is a Hindu concept which has no basis whatsoever. They have never seen anybody past who died some year, 100 years or 200 years ago to return. So sometimes people claim that they have returned. And they tell the history of 200 years ago. And they claim that they have not read it anywhere. But it is all either hoax to mislead people, or maybe they subconsciously they heard the story of the past which they remembered. But there is no witness. How can we believe in them? Unless there is a witness, nothing can be proved. So most often, and I think in almost every case, this is a hoax and they should not be believed. It can be proved without a shadow of doubt that they are liars. Willful deceivers or subconscious deceivers, Allah knows best. But they are definitely liars because it's a Hindu system of deceiving the West to make them believe in this. But the Hindus do not tell them the whole story. According to this reincarnation theory, those people who die a perfect death, absolutely perfect, like a perfect prophet lives, when they die, they may return as a human being to this earth. The rest will return as dogs or animals or germs in one's intestines, etc. So they don't tell the whole story, or the West will abhor against this. So because everybody wants to live forever, so they say, why not? If we can live again as a human being, it's a good idea. So they are infatuated by the story of reincarnation. But they don't know that as they are, most of them are rascals, do evils of all sorts. If they ever relive, if the Hindus tell them the whole story of reincarnation, then they will relive maybe as germs or sperms or whatever it is, animals, beasts of jungle, but not as human beings. And if they must return as human beings, the Hindu philosophy tells us that if they are perfectly pious people, they are returned to God. And they are kept in a state of peacefulness. But they return to this earth after, while perhaps at that time there will be no earth. So the whole story is never told to them, and people believe in this superstition because everybody wants to live forever. More than
وشخص.
in fact, what they tell, if you count them in years, they will return after billions of years. Which means that when they return to Earth, there will be no Earth left. Everything will be destroyed. After Qiyamah, they will return to something which will not be Earth.
يقول
So how can they be accepted as Muslims and Ahmadis not from the
If they
Muslims?
believe in this,
Because
they are
they,
nothing. Huh? You're absolutely right. If any Muslim, any person claims to be a Muslim and believes in reincarnation, he undoes his claim to be a Muslim.